Hello, scholars, and welcome back. It's week 2 of POL452, Organizational Theory and Design. As a student, I always felt that the first week of every course was the most difficult because it was during that first week that you were really getting that understanding of what the course was all about. You were getting introduced to a new topic. Oftentimes, you were not familiar with the professor's grading scales or their expectations. And once you got through that first week, you got through a little bit of the orientation into the course, you got your first graded assignments back. I always felt like I could settle into the course and then start moving forward. So for many of you, I hope we've reached that point, and now that we can set our sights into the weeks to come. So here in week 2, we'll discuss week 2 in this video, but I wanted to backtrack quickly into week 1. In week 1, we had a series of deliverables. I enjoyed I wanted to congratulate and applaud you on your written assignments collectively. That was the assignment where we did writing on the case study presented in the book. And I was very pleased not only with your formatting and your APA skills, but your overall analysis. And I think that your level of writing, I appreciate, and I hope to continue that, to see that type of writing. Also, I wanted to talk about our journal. On our journal entry in week 1, remember we asked you to talk about an organization that you work for which you designed or you thought was well designed. And the question at the end was, why do you think it was well designed? And for many of you, I gave you some feedback that said, I look forward to hearing more about this organization. And it's not so much that I want to hear more about the organization. I want to hear more about why you think it was a successful organization. What made it successful? I want to hear more about that in the weeks to come in our writing, because we're going to talk about what works and what doesn't work. And when something works in an organization, based on the theories and the design of an organization, what makes it successful, it isn't by luck or chance that organizations are successful. There is a design. And if you can realize why and how that design is working, that is going to be essential as of knowledge that you pull out of this course, because that's what you can apply in your organizations as we move forward. So oftentimes we look at what works well. We also look at what doesn't work well, and especially why it works well and why it isn't working. And at the end, when I want to read more about this, I want to read more about the why things are occurring, because that's what's really important to me, and that's the knowledge I want you to pull away from this class. And also, I feel like one of the best parts of the class is the introductions in week 1. Getting to know you, I always find it so interesting that collectively we come from so many different backgrounds, so many different locales. We have so many different professions and career paths and career aspirations. Some of us are young, some of us are much more mature, some of us are young in our careers, some of us are mature in our careers. And I just think it's always so exciting that we have this collection of individuals that come from so many different backgrounds, so many different educational, geographical, maturity in our professions. And because we're all going to pull from that, especially in our discussion boards and our dialogue between one another. So, and it's always great to put a face and a voice with your name. So I really enjoyed getting to know each one of you a little bit better as we move forward throughout these next 8 weeks. But here we are in week 2. In week 2, let's break it down. We're looking at the overall agenda. This week we'll see we have some reading. There's a supplemental article. We can go over the objectives, and then there's a series of deliverables for this week. So let's get started. For our module objectives, you can read through these of what are the expectations. And with each week, there are module objectives that are included. And it's something as simple as at the conclusion of this week, we expect you to be able to have these 4 elements. And I always try to review my objectives at the beginning of the week. I do my work, and at the end of the week, I try to review them again to say, have I met the objectives? And if not, it's something I might want to address. If I don't feel that I have quite reached that level of understanding that I can identify, that I can apply, that I'll examine, I'll try to focus on that and maybe strengthen that or review it throughout the week. For this week in our readings, we're in the Jones text. We're in chapters 2 and 3. And then there is also a supplemental article that there's a link here, and then we're also gonna that applies to one of our assignments, and this link to this article on the design and the structure of government that I feel that you'll enjoy this week. There's a video that's associated that we're going to apply that I think once again you will use and apply to our deliverables. A quick video, but I think something that you'll really pull out of. Uh, our topic this week is ethics and ethical decision making and ethical decision making within organizations, and why good leaders make you feel safe, especially with their ethical decision making. So we're going to see how we can tie this video into our reading this week, especially revolving around the concepts of ethics and ethical decision making. So let's jump into our deliverables. Week two, discussion board, our first deliverable. So what we're asking you is organizational design includes a functional structure. It also involves leadership and ethical rules. After viewing the video, discuss the leader's position on the importance of trust and cooperation within the circle of safety. And how does this video coincide with the readings this week on creating an ethical culture within an organization? In public organizations, ultimate stakeholders are the members of the public. How does this concept of ethical leadership apply to serving the public's interest? Your original post should be at least 250 words, comments of at least 100 words. And then there's a rubric. 15 points go towards your original post, and 5 points goes towards each of the posts to your fellow students for a total of 25 points. Now, remember, some of you might have had a few issues with this and got some grading. The reason I include word counts, it's not that I'm there counting every single word or just coming up with standards. But to me, remember, our discussion boards replace the dialogue that we would have in the traditional classroom. When we would sit in the traditional classroom, we would have lectures and conversations. People would raise their hands. We would have discussions. In online education, we don't have that. And that is replaced with this discussion board. So I expect each one of you to make your original post, 250 words. Why do I put it at 250 words? Because I believe it would take a minimum of 250 words to have a scholarly reply to the questions that you're asked. And then I need at least 100 words for each reply. Now, replies, I don't like to see, I agree with you, well stated, good job. We're not here to applaud the person. We're here to add to the conversation. And many times you can agree. I agree with you and I also want to address this. Or I disagree with you and I want to add this. I want you to add to the conversation in your replies, just not to acknowledge them or congratulate them. So that is why 100 words, I don't think one can add to a conversation in less than 100 words. And I'm looking for some content and some depth in your analysis and your contribution. So that's what I'm looking for in our discussion board week 2. I think it's a great one. You know, myself working in the public sector, being a public administration major, the ethics, serving our stakeholders of the public, the concept of us putting the public's interest first with all of our ethical decision making. Obviously, I hold very high, and it's a benchmark of all of our public organizations. So I'm really looking forward to reading your discussions and applying the video concepts to our readings this week out of our text, and then answering those questions. So I look forward to our discussion board replies. For our journal, for our second deliverable, that's going to be on that supplemental reading. So in our supplemental reading, The Public, the Political System, and the American Democracy, there's a short article that talks about just kind of to give you a quick, they're talking about is the design and the structure of our modern government applicable, or does it need overhaul and change? So after reading this week's supplemental article, I want you to write a 2-page essay on your thoughts. First question, what is the main idea of the article, and second, list 3 things you found especially interesting or surprising, and tell me why. And with my arrow right here, I'm a big, I like the why. Um, I want to know why it's interesting, why it stood out to you, why do you find that these concepts are applicable or unapplicable. I want you to explain the why to me. And here you go, the scoring as follows: 80% on content and completeness, and then 10% on formatting, and 10% on your grammar and spelling. So that's what I'm looking for this week. And then finally, there is our 2 deliverables this week, only 2 deliverables. This other third one that's creeping in here, it's just going to be a description of our critical assignment. I know that in our 8-week classes, for you traditional students or for you op students, we know that 8 weeks goes by incredibly fast. We're already in week 2. Before you know it, we're halfway, and then these critical assignments can sneak up on you. So I ask you to read through the critical assignment description. I'm going to make a separate video that just details the critical assignment. Add that to Blackboard as well, because we can never jump into this too early. So I'm not going to go into great detail on this. This week, definitely read through it. And this week, I promise you, I'll get you a video that just is all about our critical assignment. But I think I'm excited about this week, number 2. Straightforward, I believe. I think it's great reading, especially for many of us, and especially at this university. The concepts of ethics and ethical decision making, and the value of ethics in organizations, I think, is the foundation of many of our lives and many of our spirituality, and many, the foundation of everything we do. So it's easy to apply the concepts that we do in our everyday life into our professional life in our organizations. But obviously, we are not, we being collectively, in our value in ethics and our value in morality, sometimes are not we don't think like that as all people don't think in the eyes that we do. So it's especially important that we understand the concepts of ethics, the application of ethics, and how we can introduce that into our organizations, and how organizations can prosper at all levels with the concepts of ethics and integration of ethical decision making. So, one quick transition before we end this video. We as we do a little house cleaning in this course, we're all through week 1. We realize that once again, and I'm going to talk you through this once again. We're on a week 2 calendar. Our week 2 calendar is Monday through Sunday evening at 11:59. All of the deliverables, discussion board, journals are due by Sunday at 11:59. If you have any questions about the late policy, there was a syllabus video that was included in week 1 and sent to all of you as an announcement. It's also as a document, which can go over the calendar week and the late work assignment. So we need to adhere to that, to be diligent on our studies, to be diligent on our time management. And then just in closing, I'm excited for many of us. We're moving forward. I'm not hearing a lot of feedback or a lot of questions, which as a professor always gives me the impression that if I'm not hearing from you, I have the assumption that all of you are understanding the curriculum, you're understanding the concepts, you're understanding the assignments, and you're getting those in on time. So no news is good news to me. But if you are having any issues, if you have any concerns, if you have any comments, you need to get a hold of me. There's nothing that we can't solve. There's nothing we can't deal with communication. But without communications, there's many things that we're going to have issues with. So have a blessed week. I'm going to have you in my thoughts and in my prayers. I look forward to reading all of your assignments this week, and I look forward to our time together. So let's have an enjoyable week. And until next time, let's just be diligent in our studies, and let's just say bye for now.